Welcome back to the Cerebral Cricketer podcast. Today we have a very, very special guest on the show. Today we're joined by Aaron Johnson. Born in Jamaica, Aaron is an explosive opening batsman who plays for Canada. He debuted in T20s for Canada in November 2022 and in ODIs in March 2023. He has played in the T20 World Cup and is known around the world for his aggressive stroke play and big hitting prowess. So, Aaron, welcome to the Cerebral Cricketer podcast.
Thank you for having me, brother. I actually didn't know that I debuted 50 over in 2023. I thought it was the same year, but
Ah,
you have it
so the show is basically aimed at getting insights about all types of high level cricketers, their background and all that kind of stuff. So uh, we usually go chronologically with the guests, kind of starting from when they're a youngster and going up until their career and how that their sort of career. So while I was doing the research, I found an interesting article about yourself, which I wanted to get your thoughts about. So I'll read out the excerpt. So it says, growing in Jamaica, I was raised on a farm. My dad had a farm. I wouldn't say it was a fun experience because you had to work very hard, but I guess that helped me in my everyday life. Like in the morning, I wake up at 5:30 a.m. to go to the gym. It teaches you to get out of bed very early. You have 24 hours, but it's about what you do in those 24 hours. So if you lay in bed, you want to be lazy, you'll not achieve what you want to achieve. So it's kind of a segue to talk about your life as a kid in Jamaica. So because clearly it seems like the life in Jamaica shaped you to be the person you are today. So I'd love to sort of get your background because clearly you mentioned you've been raised on a farm. So yeah, tell us about your life as a child in Jamaica.
So, as you say, it's very interesting, because I think it worked hand in hand with sports, and my dad, it's just how he was raised. I think he has like about 7, 8 siblings, and it was a big family, right? And they were my grandfather. He was a farmer. And so my dad being the youngest of all his kids, while his brothers, sisters would have gone to do business and become, like in the working world, he was always at home. So he took over the family farm and, as his third child, but his second son, I, had to take responsibility of, helping around, bringing out the goats, taking care of the chickens, the cows, and yeah, it really shaped you because again, you had to bring the animals out when the dew was on the grass for them to feed. That was the best time. So just imagine you have to get up as early. You are rising with the sun technically, right? And I think it's the same with sports. If you listen to a lot of athlete, high level sportsmen who have achieved, they have to do like 3-4 workouts per day. And how do you get enough workout in per day? You have to get up early, go to the gym, rest for probably hour, 2 hour, go back to the gym, or probably go do technical work, and then you know find a way to do recovery in the afternoon. So I think it definitely helped me.
So what age were you like, taking out the goats and doing all that kind of stuff?
Trust me, I don't even want to go back to it because I'm talking about age 10, 12, you know, and I oftentimes speak about this. My dad also, when you talk about the litter from the chicken house, because he used to raise a lot of chickens, like 36,000 chickens for one of the big broiler company in Jamaica, and so with the litter, he would have sold the litter to coffee farmers in Jamaica, or farmers who do vegetable crops and them things. So what you find is that while he has men working, loading the bags and doing all of these things, loading the trucks and all of these things, it's manual labor. But as a son, I was so young, I couldn't lift these bags. But we used to have to go and tie the bags because we have to use cord to tie the bags. And when we finish tying the bags and the guys are loading the truck, we would have to sit on the cab shield, and every bag that came up on the truck, we would have to count them to make sure that if it's 500 is in this load, because again, it's a business, right? Daddy can't do everything. You have to find a way to assist. So we were from age 14, 13. Some people would call it child labor, but I don't think it is. I just think it's a part of, growing up as a man.
And do you think that because obviously that is taking a lot of time, effort, strenuous activity, at the same time you're working with animals, does it kind of breed that quality of patience in you? Do you feel that that has really been instilled in you as a young age, working in the farm, or any specific qualities in general, other than just obviously strength and discipline? Would patience be one of
100%, because again, as you said, the patients come in where, just imagine you have a herd of goat, 30, 40 goats, and there's just one who decide to be mischievous and go the separate way. You can't hurt that animal, because if you do, you're basically hurting what will be your profit 6, 7 months down the road. So again, as you said, like, it helps you to instill that level of patience, not only with them but with yourself.
Yeah, that's amazing insights because I don't have any background working in a farm or anything like that. But whenever I've spoken to someone about it, they've always said, like, for example, being a shepherd and taking care of sheep, it's like, each sheep is different. So you got to be gentle with whatever it needs. Like, one can be stubborn, one can
Yeah.
be soft, one can follow the herd and the crowd. So you have different sheeps and you got to, like, take care of them, because what you just mentioned is really insightful as well. You just said, like, yourself as well. It's not just about them, but it's about yourself. And that kind of reminded me as well, like, that kind of fosters a good quality of traits of character in someone, be able to not just deal with sheep in of itself, but also with people, right? Like, I'm sure that kind of shapes how you interact and behave with people. Yeah.
100%, because as you said, like a animal, you as you say, some can be so stubborn, some can be so disciplined, but it's how you react to whatever is coming at you. So when you go out there and you deal with people, you deal with fellow teammates, you deal with the opposition. I've always said this, like, I've never gone playing cricket and getting fight with opposition. Like, I can't recall, and I think it's just because of how I carry myself, the respect I carry myself with, and the way I deal with people. So even if I'm trying to get under someone's skin, you do it in such a playful way that they themselves don't find it offensive.
Yeah, that's amazing as well. And we know, when watching your batting, like, there's a lot of strength in your batting and through your power hitting. Would you say that also is shaped by the fact that you had to do manual labor at a young age, or would you kind of boil that down to genetics? Like, what kind of fostered that strength in
I
you?
I will have to say that yes, manual labor did help, but I would say it's genetics to 100%, because like all my family members are very strongly built people, and I have a younger brother who just yesterday I was at national training, and I was talking to a guy who witnessed both myself and my brother play, and the guy looked at me and he tell me that you actually hit the ball with some form of technique. Your brother is incredible. Your brother's strength is ridiculous, and he's my younger brother. So I would say it's down to genetics, to be honest.
Okay, fair enough. And in terms of farm life, how did you get into cricket? So I'd love to hear that sort of transition. Like, when I think of Jamaica, I'm thinking of Chris Gale or Courtney Walsh. So I don't know if you had those kind of people to look up to as a young Jamaican at that time.
100%, I had those people to look up to. However, like, growing up for me, farm life actually helped shape the love that I have for cricket, and some way you would say that the farm life, the cricket actually help myself and my siblings and my cousins to actually get the work done, bring the animals out early, do all of these things. Because what you find is that if we would need to sweep the yard or rake the yard or wash the cars or bring the animals out, anything we are doing as a group, if we wanted to go and play cricket in the afternoon, we would have to get it done before we are allowed to play. So you would find that if it's my job to do, you'll find that my neighbor would come and help me with it, because he want us to play cricket together, or you want this person to be on your team. So you would actually help them to do their chores around the yard, or wherever you need to get it done. You would help them to get that done, so that you have a longer time to actually play a few games of cricket.
That's amazing. Like what you just mentioned kind of reminds me of delayed gratification. Like if you don't have that discipline to get up, and obviously it's not exactly the things you're describing might not seem fun things to do for the average city goer like myself, but if you don't do it, if you don't wake up at the right time and you don't get those things done, then obviously you don't want to be stuck doing it at night time. You want to keep that, or in the late afternoon, you want to keep that time to play cricket. So you need that discipline and that delayed gratification in order to play cricket, which obviously I'm sure that you enjoy towards the end of the day. And on top of that,
Yeah.
like the fact that you're saying that your neighbors help you out shows that there's a sense of community, fostering that sense of community amongst the people that you're living with or you that were around you. So I think that's really important as well to kind of work together for that same goal. So I thought those kind of qualities are very interesting to observe for yourself in that situation.
Yes, definitely.
So in terms of were you always kind of playing cricket from a young age? Like what age did you start? Like were there any teams or clubs that you also joined at that young age?
For me, it's incredible when I look forward to my accomplishments now in cricket overall and international cricket. I started pretty late because I'm from a 70 Adventist family, so we weren't allowed to play on Saturdays. So the schools that I went to didn't really play a lot of sport. So I started when I went to high school, actually play cricket. I was just always playing with my cousins and my brothers in the backyard or in the driveway and things. So I started really early. I would say from about age 6, 7, and as I said, it was just fun. It was very competitive because most of the guys in my community were very, very good cricketers, like extremely good cricketers. Some of them went on to play for Jamaica senior team. Some went on to play West Indies A. Some, like a guy called Shakaya Thomas. I'm not sure if you know of him. He's now living in Australia. I'm not sure exactly where in Australia, but he's living in Australia. One of my closest childhood friend, my cousin, Garvey, he's now living in US. He played for Jamaica senior team. So, quite a bit of guys, a few guys who went on to represent their high school at very high level and went probably go as far as Jamaica senior team trials, but didn't really make it. So it showed that they have some level of competence. So we, I would say that we had very good cricketers in my community.
What makes so you describe your friends or people that you've played with that for example, you mentioned someone's moved to America, someone's in Australia. What propels these people to make that leap of faith? Because obviously moving to a different country is daunting and a big lifestyle change. Is it that they're chasing this dream that they have to play cricket at a high level? Like do they have that kind of deep passion for the sport that you feel was fostered within your community, especially at a young age where everyone had that competitive spirit that they wanted to achieve certain goals within cricket, and so that's why they're making that leap. Like, I'd love to hear those insights as well, because obviously you've done that yourself as well.
So to be honest with you, for me personally, I my main reason to move into Canada is I would say for my life wasn't the worst in Jamaica, but just to have more opportunity. And I think it's the same for my cousins and my friends. Like moving to Australia, yes, it's cricket, but also outside of cricket, it present more opportunity for you in terms of just having a standard of living. Like things are getting much better in my country back home in Jamaica. However, coming from small rural communities, it was never the easiest, right? And you often find that you had to go to a particular high school to get certain opportunity, or you have to come from a certain family to get certain opportunity. So I think a lot of people take the leap of faith, as you talk about, just for more opportunity, and that's what I did. But then luckily I moved early enough where I still managed to qualify and play for Canada.
It's amazing. And on top of that, you mentioned A67, you're playing cricket, but you started quite late in terms of competitive cricket. Were you always an opening batsman at that young age, or were you a lower order batsman and transition to the top? Like, what was your journey with batting in particular at that age?
So I was actually a lower middle order batsman, batting about number 6, 7 in high school. I would my high school coach. I often blame him for my lack of technical ability with the bat. I always say that to him, even up until this day. I say to him, like, if I score a 50 batting at number 4, he would put me the next game. He would put me at number 5. And when I question and ask why, he would say that because how dominant I am. Once he has me sitting on the bench, my teammates have that security, and the opposition is still fearful of the team. So he used me as a weapon in terms of knowing my ability and what I can do. However, when I went to club cricket. I played at Kingston Cricket Club, Sabina Park, and I was still batting lower middle order. And I made a move from the club, St. Catherine Cricket Club, for more opportunities because at that time you have people like Andre Russell who was playing there, Danza Hyatt. You had like Ravman Powell was there, Kennar Lewis. So you had a very competitive team. And the guy I told you about, Shakaya Thomas, he would have played West Indies A. So it was very competitive. So I moved to Kingston Cricket Club where you had like Brandon King, Fabian Allen, all of these guys who are still competitive, but they were a bit younger than I am. So I was ahead of them. So I would have gotten more opportunity than them at that time. And the club captain, not the team captain, but the club captain, there was a first year of T20 cricket coming in Jamaica. And he said to me, based off my ability to hit the cricket ball, he would like me to use the power play. So just throw it out there. Do you want to open the batting? And I'm like, sure. And then I opened the batting in that tournament and I finished with the most runs in the tournament. So that's when everyone is like, "Whoa, like this is an incredible change." I was speaking to this same guy in the World Cup when I was in the World Cup. I was on the team bus and he called me one day, Kerry Scott, and we were having a chat. And I said to him, it's funny you called me today because you were the person who gave me the opportunity as an opening batter. And he started laughing and he's just reminding me that yes, I remember that I was the one who gave you that opportunity. So yes, it's I don't know how to put it.
So, at what age did you move to Kingston Cricket Club?
I would say about 22 years old.
Okay. And before then, you said you were at a different club where there was Andre Russell, Rovman Powell, and
Russell, yeah, Ravman Powell, all of these guys, Kennar Lewis. Probably these are names that a lot of people around the world would, well, Russell and Ravman for sure. But Kennar Lewis also play a lot of T10 and T20 cricket.
and what age were you at that club for before you moved to Kingston Cricket Club?
I started my club cricket there, so I started at about age 15, 16.
Okay. So at 15 years old, so basically you were a lower order batsman because obviously there were other well-known established players at that time as
Yeah.
well. And was it like a grade system where it's like this? I don't know if it's similar to here in Australia, but it's like third grade, second grade, first grade for the same club, and then you sort of work your way up
That's
essentially.
exactly what it was. That's exactly what it was. So we have three teams. You have a minor league team. You have a minor cup team. You have a junior cup team, and you have a senior cup team. So I started in the minor cup and the junior cup, and then when I got to senior cup, that's where I would be bumping heads with people like Russell, as I tell you about, a guy called Danza Hyatt who played for West Indies also, and he played a lot of cricket in Australia. So so these are the people I would be playing with, and also Nikita Miller, Bevan Brown, Odin Brown. So these are seasoned West Indies and Jamaica first class cricketers, right? I would be competing against. But Kingston had a very young team. So I knew if I moved to Kingston, I would walk in the starting 11. But in my club that I was in and out of the 11, depending on who is on West Indies duties or who is on Jamaica duties, then you might get an opportunity, right?
Yeah, definitely makes sense. And on top of that, so I might start there where, 15 years of age. So at that time, was there any particular coach or any particular training that you're doing consistently in order to get into the club? You said you were in the minor leagues at that time. So obviously, I'm sure you're working hard as well. So in terms of the journey with your batting and the skills that you learned with the batting, was there any kind of influential figure at that age for you?
You mean in terms of role models for me, or like a coach who would bring me through?
Coach, yeah.
So what I found out very early, I got an opportunity to go to England and play semi-professional cricket at about age 19, 20, right? So there was this guy called Plummer who he met me at my old high school. You know, I went back just to get a transcript to start studying in Jamaica, and he asked me if I wanted to come to England and play. So he was the main person in my, I would say, cricketing development. And when I went to play at South Hampstead Cricket Club in England, he he basically took me to the nets and he's like, yes, you can hit the cricket ball, but you have no, literally have no technique, you know, especially with the swinging ball. And, you know, we are talking about people looking at your technique in terms of looking for you to play international cricket and, you know, working out what you need to do and all of this. So he spent quite a bit of time with me. So even when I went back to Jamaica to play club cricket, he would be following my scores, watching videos of any game I play. He would come back to Jamaica just, you know, out of the English winter, running away from the cold, and he would come at the games and watch me play and tell me, oh, you're doing this, you're doing that. So he was like the mentor to my development. And so yeah, Junior Plummer, he was the guy who actually helped me to fix my cricket and work out how I go about scoring runs. And then the second year, I got a contract to go to Shepherd's Bush Cricket Club in Middlesex in London, and I played for them for 2 seasons, which that really springboard my cricketing career and let me believe that I have some amount of ability.
So, what kind of specific? Because you sort of alluded to technique there. Was he just only focused on technique? Was there any sort of mentoring from the mental side of the game, for example, or strategy side of the game? And if so, like, what was the biggest learnings you took away from him?
Again, I think he helped me on how to work out my batting in terms of how to score runs consistently, right? And learning more about batsmanship, reading the situation, you know, being patient. I know my strike rate really doesn't show that I am a patient batter, but he he tend to help me to like show me that I have if I have what did I say? If you have 50 overs to bat, you don't need to score 100 in the first 10 balls. You understand what I'm saying to you? If you're batting against someone who is very good as a bowler, you don't need to really face most of his bowling. Why don't you get to the next end? And you know, look to finish games. If I've been in so many positions where I'm dominating the game for my team and then I happen to get out. So, you know, it's about control the innings, find a way to control everything and control the pace of the game, and that will separate you from an average cricketer, right? And I think sometime I'm struggling even in international cricket, and I just take the phone and I just call him, and we just have a chat for an hour, 2 hours. He will always answer just to help me to get my mind in the right frame.
And in terms of, did he help you build processes around your batting? So, for example, people talk about when the bowler's running in, doing certain things in order to help you focus, or in between balls, like to try to stay fresh for the ball when the bowler is running in. Like, did he kind of hone those skills of yours at a younger age, or is it skills that you may have maybe developed later on in your career?
I definitely think I developed that more when I made my debut. I think Pubudu, that's Nike, is the coach who helped me to really look at that and get down to those details and understand that you know you can actually pick up the what the bowler want to do by watching the ball closely, right? Before that, I think I was playing club cricket. I think I my ability, not trying to be a bit arrogant or anything, but I think my ability most of the time I play club cricket, I'm a level above the guys I'm playing. So I dominate, right? But then when you come to the international scene, for you to survive or for you to do well, you must pay fine details to a lot of simple stuff.
And so at what age? So you said around when you like it was from 15 to was it 19, and then you moved to Kingston, and then you also played club cricket for New Hampshire and Southampton. So what age were you kind of playing club cricket? Because I know that I think it was more in the around age 30 or so. That's where you made your debut. So throughout those years in the 20s, what was your journey with cricket up until that point?
So I actually played 8 consecutive years of semi-professional cricket in England. So I went to Southampton for 1 season. I went to Shepherd's Bush for 2 seasons. I went to Harrow for 1 season, and then I moved. That was in Middlesex, and then I moved to Kent, where I played for Gravesend Cricket Club for 3 years, and then I moved to Upchurch, and I played for 1 year with Upchurch, and that was my best year in club cricket. But then the following year, I moved to Canada, 2019. So in my early 20s up until about 27, 28 is when I moved to Canada, and then COVID hit 2019, and I was stuck in Canada basically, you know, playing semi-professional cricket. But then COVID hit for a year, 2.5 years, and then once everything opened up, I was like about 6 months away from qualifying to play for Canada. And I had done well every time I play. I've been to the nationals here. I got MVP. So everyone was just waiting for me to make my qualification period for me to make my debut for Canada. And I think after making my debut, I played the first season in Oman and I got MVP. So at that point, a lot of people who have known me from England and even locally, it was really no surprise to them to see what I've done internationally because I've been doing it for like about 8, 9 years consistently. So
And within that time as well, like you obviously spent a lot of time in England. Did you bump into any sort of established cricketer that also helped you through that journey as well, upskill as your time within your time in England, or was it just kind of only club cricketers at that time, or there are other people that you had access to that you were trying to help you and get better?
well, I did bump into a few, like someone like Kushal Mendes. I played against him, in England. I think he made his debut in test debut and made 100 actually on his first test debut in England. The year before that, I played against him in Middlesex League cricket, and also Jackson Bird. I played against him also in Middlesex League cricket. He played for Australia. I played against him. So I wouldn't say they weren't established at the time, but these are the players I played against when I was playing semi-pro cricket. Dave Masters, I think he played a lot under Alistair Cook captaincy, and I can tell you hands down, he's the best captain I've ever played with, and that was at Upchurch Cricket Club. So he played about 18 years of county cricket in England. He's just a master at his game. He just know exactly what to do. I think he played a few England A games also. So these are the people I learned from, and even though Dave wasn't a batter, he could have helped me a lot in terms of how to craft my innings or how to start my innings because he would have told me what bowlers look to do, right? So I kind of have the insight of a world class bowler and what they're thinking to do and how to go about, you know, structuring my innings to making sure that I last as long as possible at the crease.
So is that kind of mentality is about outsmarting the bowler? So from a strategy perspective, he's helping you or guiding you to figure out what the bowler is trying to do, so you sort of can plan accordingly and are ahead of the game, and then you're able to adjust accordingly as a batsman. Those are kind of the skills that you learned.
100%, 100%. And I think you can only learn that by playing a lot of cricket, and not only a lot of cricket, but a lot of competitive cricket, right? And when I go to England, like for 1 season, I would play anywhere between 30 to 35 competitive games, and then you'll see what your average is. You'll see how successful you are, and if you would get out a particular way for 2 or 3 innings consistently, you would definitely think about how can you not get out that way again. So and then when the opposition find out that you have found a way how to curtail those planning, then they will come up with different plans. So it's all about assessing yourself and seeing how the opposition plan for you. Because the thing is, if you know where someone is attacking you from, then you can defend it. But if you don't know where they're attacking you from, or you don't have any idea of where you're vulnerable, then I think you're in a lot of trouble.
It's amazing, and learning those skills, especially at that, because we know, especially in Australia, there's so many players that go to England to hone their craft. Because I think England, probably as you mentioned, they have a lot of games, like a lot of club teams are looking for players overseas. They get recruited, and then they're playing all these games, and that's the only the best way to sort of craft your skills as well, right? Like the more games you play, the more data you have to analyze, and therefore you can make sense of how you should approach your batting and stuff like that. So you can imagine how important that is. And on top of that, so up until that time, what would you say? In you because you mentioned your captain as well at that time, but was there any particular, like you said, you rubbed heads with Andre Russell, all these kind of players in West Indies. Was there any particular player that kind of really stood out, that kind of inspired you to do better? Like you saw someone that was like, wow, he has these skills. This is the level I have to be at in order to play well in international cricket.
No, I would say, like, for me personally, Russell was just earning his way, like making his way. So he wasn't the dominant Andre Russell that everyone know. Yes, his work ethic was very good, but at that time I think all of us did. There's a guy called Tamar Lambert. He captain West, not West Indies. He captain Jamaica for I think 5, 6 straight title. He captain Chris Gayle. He captain Wavell Hines. All of these guys, and I think if you ask anyone in the region, anyone in West Indies cricket, they will tell you about Tamar Lambert's ability to read the cricket game and to basically predict what is going to happen, even on the cricket field, you know. And I think he's just a master. He's a genius, and I think most of us who had played for West Indies or Jamaica, or even myself who come now and play for Canada, Stephen Taylor was also my age group there in Jamaica. We played a lot of cricket together. He plays for the West for US. Like, we all come up under Tamar Lambert's captaincy and the way how he practiced the game, and the way how he, like, you'd never see Tamar Lambert in the training trying to hit a six or a four. But then when he come on to the game, he's scoring 70s, 80s consistently, 60s, hundreds consistently, and hitting sixes and fours, right? But it's just how he go about it, and he would implore on the youngsters to be disciplined and to work hard, and to if you're strong in one area, don't come and just work on that and think that you are achieving. Like, it's like, whatever you're weak on, try to make it your strength, because your strength will naturally be there. So whatever you're weak on, try to make it your strength, and I think that's what he instilled in us.
So speaking of training, I wanted to ask you, like, how did your training regime look like? Like, for example, when you're at Kingston Cricket Club, and also when you're, playing club cricket in England, were you basically, for example, in Kingston Cricket Club, were you training every day? What sort of specific training and skills training were you doing? And just to for the audience to get an idea of how much effort it takes, because you just alluded to, players having to work hard, and all these other players, as you mentioned, they're not necessarily working on the power hitting, but then it's kind of manifesting in the actual game. So, how did your training regime look like first I guess, in Kingston Cricket Club, on a day to day basis, roughly? Because I know that I read an article as well. You talked about, gymming in the morning, all that kind of stuff. And also, in club cricket in England, how did that training regime look like?
I think in England, in club cricket, it was a bit more relaxed, because again, it's not all you are the pro in the team, right? So some of the guys, you have to wait until they're off from work, then you come together as a team, and then you practice for 2 3 hours. But as a pro, I think I had to take that initial what I would say, like, initiative to know that for my teammates, they are paying to play. I am being paid to play. So for them, they use it as a way to get, they're good cricketers. They're working hard. They're fit, but I need to get up and I need to go to the gym in the morning. I need, if they're working out, if they're going to an office job and then coming to train in the evening, I need to have already done 5, 6 laps. I need to keep my body in shape because this is my job. So I think it come down to what you want as a person, right? And how disciplined you are. And as I spoke about earlier, that my upbringing, my upbringing is something that helped me to stay disciplined. When we were in Kingston Cricket Club, I would tell you that that was like you're in a military. Like you have a coach called Terence Cock. I can tell you that you would come to training, and for the first month, you would not get any chance to bat or bowl. You'll be doing fielding practice, you'll be doing catching, you'll be doing all of these things. Just imagine, as I said, Fabian Allen, Brandon King, my cousin Garvey, a guy called Morant. You have Martino Minley, who plays one test match, I think, for West Indies in Australia. Derval Green, all of these guys we play together at Kingston. And what the coach would do is once we take a break from practice and then we're starting practice again, before we would have the nets ready for batting and bowling, he would do like a month, 3 times a week, a month of physical training. And the physical include feeling. And while you're feeling, you're doing the physical. So a lot of running, a lot of catching, a lot of backing up, these stuff. So it's very enjoyable. However, you're getting so much fitter by doing these things, right? So that's his way of going about it, and it was good. It was very good for us. I think we were a very successful team.
You can definitely see why West Indies are such a gun fielding team. Like if you're not even touching the bat and ball for a whole month and doing this kind of fielding, intense fielding training, you can imagine why they're so good in that sense, right? Like I've definitely seen certain like at the end of the day, like fielding wins games too, right? Like as much as you're a gun batsman and bowler. So I think that kind of I just see it as a recurring theme. Like it reminds me of the part you're talking about your neighbors helping you come and come together and helping you to make sure that you finish the farm work before the sun goes down, as opposed to especially in the fielding situation. Fielding is also a team thing, right? Like sometimes bowling can be individual thing, batting can be individual thing, but team. Fielding and doing that teamwork is super important. So that kind of culture is definitely fostered. And
Yeah.
aside from that, like I also want to touch on the part that you said you moved to Canada around 2019, 2020, and then COVID hit. I just wanted to get your thoughts on that experience because I can imagine at the time maybe Canada wasn't exactly maybe home to you at that time, but being stuck during COVID, that's very daunting experience as well, right? Like having to go through that. So um, give us a rundown with your experience at that time in Canada during COVID.
As you mentioned that, like I was just about to speak, and my entire body went cold. It sent shivers down my spine thinking about the COVID era, and it's not only because of the uncertainty of the world at that time, but I was in a place called Fort McMurray, one of the coldest places in Canada, and I didn't have any family members there. My brother was 16, 17 hours drive away from where I was in British Columbia. And it was a very tough time because, again, I was on a scholarship to play for a school, also a college there. And there was no cricket for two and a half years. Basically, there was no cricket. The borders were closed. If I'd attempt to go back to Jamaica, coming back, I would have had to quarantine. It was just so expensive. Everything was just so uncertain. So they put in these restrictions for you to stay in one place. But I think it did work for me as a blessing in disguise because of the fact that I was stuck in Canada for like 2.5, 3 years, and then I qualified very shortly after the world was open again. So I would look at that as a positive. However, the gyms were closed most of the time in the winter time. Like it was like 6 months of snow on the ground, and it was almost impossible for me to do anything outdoors. But I still needed to train because in my head I knew that once, like, I was in the gym alone. I remember one year I got a award from the school, and we didn't play any cricket, but the sports director gave me the award because every time he would pass the gym to go to his office when nothing was going on, I would be the only athlete in the gym. And I didn't know why I got that award. I asked him, I went to him and I asked him, how did I get this award? And that was his explanation to me. So it was a cash prize award and for the athlete of the year for the school. How can you have athlete of the year when you had no sports going on? But the reason why I was an athlete of the year is because I was in the gym alone by myself. No one needed to be there for me, because it's a school gym, so you are allowed to go in, right? But a certain amount of people, even when the other gyms were closed. So, and I still have pictures of those days. I wish I could get back to that level of fitness at this point, but that was like about 5 years ago. So it wasn't easy, but the fact that I believe that the world would have opened up again, what kept me going. And I knew that if I wanted to play cricket, I had to be fit. So I was still working on my fitness, even though no cricket was being played.
That's amazing story as well. And what specific trainings were you doing? Like, were you just focusing on the gym and getting that fitness up throughout that whole time, or did you find other ways to do other stuff? What was the primary focus at that time in terms of fitness?
For me, it was mostly fitness because, of course, we would have been eating. The gyms are closed. Everything is closed down for like a month, 2 months. So the moment it's open again, I would be in the gym. It could be for 2 weeks, 3 weeks. I've seen time when they open for 1 week and then the survey came out that it's a breakout again, so they would have had to close. So for me, it's any weight I would have put on, I try to take off quickly, So like, remember, sometimes you're just eating. You have to eat. You have nothing to do. It's cold outside, so we classes were online. So sometimes for days you wouldn't leave your house. So these are the things. So if you put on 5 pound, you put on 2 pound, 3 pound, you just needed to take it off. So that was my story at that time. No batting, no bowling, just focusing on trying to keep fit.
And specifically with your gym work, are you doing like strength training? Are you doing cardio? And are you tailoring to your batting? So I mean, obviously, I'm not like any top level cricketer or anything, but I'm thinking as a batsman potentially, especially with the power that you have. Are you kind of focusing more on shoulder back workouts in order to get that maximum power when you do hit? Like, is your try to strength work, if you are doing it in the gym, tailored towards kind of your batting or your big hitting? Like, how do you sort of tailor that?
For me personally, I think I would say very blessed. My family is very blessed in terms of the strength. I remember playing a game back home when I was about probably 19, and my high school captain was the opposition wicket keeper, and I hit a six. And at that time, I was doing no strength work, and the slip fielder said, "How did he hit that for six?" And my high school captain turned to him and said, "If he took the stumps and hit the ball, it would have went for six too," because I was that strong from high school, right? So it wasn't about. So for me in the gym, I say that to say when I'm in the gym, most of the time, it's not about strength training for me. It's mostly about cardio, trying to keep that weight off because again, I I don't think I slug. I think I'm strong and I time the ball very well. So I think once my body is able to move with less weight, I'll be efficient. So I don't really focus on strength training.
Okay, fair enough. And you mentioned that because of COVID, you're obviously in Canada, and that allows you to eventually qualify to play for Canada. So in the lead up to your debut, which is because COVID and that kind of stuff happened around 2019, 2020, and you made your debut in November 2022. So can you explain to us sort of what went down in order for you to be allowed to be qualified to play for Canada? Like, did people come up to you and talk to you and sort of put in the paperwork? How did that process look like? And did you have to go to trials and training with, for example, the Canada national team in order for you to be eligible to qualify for Canada?
So for me, if to be able to qualify to play for Canada, you just need to be, having the proper paperwork, whether it is work permit or PR or passport in term and being in the country for I think about 3.5 years. So I knew that once that qualification period is up, I would be playing. But Yes, going to school was one of my way of sorting out my paperwork in the country to be eligible to play. And of course, I would have played in the leagues in British Columbia. So every summer, when I remember during COVID, they had only half a season, so only 9 weeks rather than 18 weekends. And I went back from Fort McMurray. I went to British Columbia and I played that 9 weeks. I did well, and then the following year, when they had a full season, I represented British Columbia in the nationals, and I got MVP that nationals. And I still didn't get a chance to play for Canada that year, but I should have. When I say should have, I could have gotten that opportunity because I was qualified at that time. That was the same summer of 2022 when I made my debut in November. But earlier in the summer, you had like Vanuatu and these teams, Malaysia coming over to Canada. There was a tournament. There was a League Two tournament in King City. I think Navneet Dhaliwal scored two century in that tournament, and Nicholas Curtin also scored 100 in that tournament. I didn't get that opportunity, but I went back to BC. I scored 100 there, and then I came back to trials, and I scored 100 in the trials. I was the only person to score 100 in the trials, and that's how I got in the national team. So it was a hard fight for me, but again, I think my ability speaks for itself, and again, I was disheartened when I did not get picked right after being the MVP in the national, where all the national players were playing. However, these obstacles come in your way to show you that you can overcome, right? And I went back, and I was disheartened, as I say. I was thinking about, honestly, I was thinking about walking away from cricket at that time because I was like, I've been here for 3.5 years. I've been the most dominant player in the country. All of these frustrations come about, but then I think that's when you need good people in your corner to say, don't give up, don't be frustrated. Show you the brighter side rather than the darker side. And fortunately for me, I hold my head high and I went back. I played league cricket. I scored another century. So they invite me to the trials. And when I went to the trials, I scored a century in the trials and I got in the team. So, and then I made my debut a few weeks later.
That's amazing. And so, did you know about that you were going to make your debut weeks before you actually made it? Like, what was that situation at that time?
Yes. Uh, I think the trials was about 2 weeks before the travel date for the team. So I knew because the team, we only had two openers in the team, in the squad when it was selected. Matthew Spruce, he's in Australia also. He played we opened together and we went to Oman, and I think it was me and him who was gonna open the batting. And because Ryan Patan at the time was the opener, he got left out. Navneet Dhaliwal was also an opener, but he couldn't make it because of family reasons. So it was only two openers on the tour, actually. And so I knew that I would be making my debut.
Okay, fair enough. And when you did make your debut, you scored a 51 off 28 balls against Bahrain. So I'm just curious, like, to really hone in on this situation because obviously you've worked hard in Canada, and you moved and played league cricket. So I'm sure that this would have been a very important time in your life where it's like, okay, I've done all the hard yards and worked hard and fought through the hardships and got to this stage. So I'm sure from an emotional standpoint, this was a big feeling, a big achievement in your life. So walk us through your feelings and emotions on the day when you knew you were going to make your debut, and how you sort of prepared the night before, and what was your plan and strategies accordingly at that time.
So to be honest with you, like I can recall this moment like very, very clear, like when I walk out and I took the guard and I look up. Probably if you look back at that video, you'll see once I took my guard, I look up and I just say, I'm finally an international cricketer. I didn't think about anything else. I wasn't thinking about family, no friends, nothing at that point. It's just that, you know, I look to the heavens and I just think to myself, like, at 31, like a dream to become an international cricketer as a kid is finally come true. And I just told myself, like, just enjoy the moment, just enjoy, just see the ball and hit the ball. Like, I didn't have any expectations of myself. I wasn't thinking about trying to prove anyone wrong or to prove anything to anyone. It was at this point, it's just that all the discipline, the hard work, the sacrifice. This is just my moment to enjoy for myself. I know my family members would have been very proud of me. They would have been watching, my high school coach, my previous coaches, like everyone is supporting me. But at this point, all the messages, all the congratulations I've gotten, this is the moment for me. They have seen everything on social media. They have seen the post that, oh, he's been selected to play for Canada, but no one really know what I went through. So it's like this is just my time to say, you know, appreciate what the hard work I've done. And it was a very good feeling also knowing that I got to 50. That was the exciting part. When I got to 50, I'm thinking to myself, I really can do this.
And on top of that, that's amazing because I feel that many cricketers can relate to like what you were just saying, where just see ball, hit ball, not think too much, don't think too far, and have fun. And sometimes as cricketers, there's a lot of pressure that cricketers put onto themselves in order to perform because they're so desperate to do well and be results
Yeah.
oriented. So that ethos that you just mentioned about see ball, hit ball, have fun out there. Is that something that you've always tried to emulate or try to recreate in every innings that you do play? Obviously, it can't happen like that all the time in the way that you want, even if you try hard, right? Sometimes it just happens because it's natural in the
Yes.
moment. So, what's your sort of ethos in general when it comes to batting? Do you try to maintain that in general, in all, every time you do bat?
Yeah, 100%. And I will make reference again to the now US coach Pubudu, that's Nike. He he always said to me, like, even in the nets in training, so many of my teammates they're trying to hit the cricket ball like I do one thing, and he always say, like, you guys notice I've never teach AJ technique. I just allow him, like, he just talked to me about simple stuff, right? He never tried to change me. He never tried to say, oh, do this, do that. He's just like, you see the cricket ball, you react to the cricket ball. That's all he wants from me. And I remember GT20. I played my first season of GT20, and Shane Bond was my coach. Tim Southee was my captain. Mark Chapman was there. Colin de Grandhomme. All of these guys, and Chris Green. I remember we trained the first day of training. Like, these guys are superstars around the world, right? And I was in practice and I was trying to bat. I got ball like this, that. These guys are coming to Canada to play with the local Canadian players. So we're trying to impress them. And after getting out about two, three times, I just decided to myself, I'm going to smash this cricket ball. Then none of these guys wanted to bowl to me at that point. Chris Green, uh, Logan Van Beek, all of these guys, like, I was smashing them. And then when I finished batting, I went and I sat down, and Tim Southee, he was also bowling. He came off and he sat next to me. And you know what he said to me? He's like, buddy, I think for you, tomorrow I just want you to see the ball and hit the cricket ball. And I'm like, okay, Skip, done. And then I made, I think, 40 something in the first game. And that always resonate with me, that a lot of people might have the best technique, the Kohlis, the Rahanes, like the Ian Bells, like, techniques look so good. But if your ability is just seeing the cricket ball and hitting the cricket ball, do what you do best. You don't need to try to be like somebody else, right? If you can take things from them, but try to be your authentic self. Try to be you. Some people will come from ball one and reverse sweep. If reverse sweep is not your thing, stick to what's yours, you know? So that's what I try to do.
That's really
That's really
interesting. Yeah, sorry. You mentioned the global T20 Canada competition, so I might actually jump to this since you mentioned some of the players that you played with. Were you referencing the 48 runs of 26 balls in
yes.
that competition? So, as you mentioned, Tim Southee was your captain. He played with Chris Green, Mark Chapman. You also talked about. I read in an interview. You said one person I've been closest to in the team was Colin de Grandhomme. He's such a humble
Yeah.
person. So, what kind of experiences did you take from? Like, obviously, you would have spent a lot of time with them, getting to know them, and they're international cricketers in their own right as well. What sort of learnings did you take away from that? I mean, clearly, you said that Tim Southee has had an impact in you in terms of making you understand that being your authentic self and being aggressive is the way to sort of continue that line of playing a game. So, was there any other sort of learnings that you did take away from being with such players who have played international cricket as well?
100%. Like when I talk about these guys, Colin is I like before I become an international cricketer, I watched Colin de Grandhomme play, and he was always one of my favorite cricketers because of the way he strike the cricket ball, right? That's something I like. But then to see someone you think so much of or so highly of, to see how humble these guys are. If you sit in a dressing room with these guys and hear some of the things they talk about, you see that they're just human beings like all of us, and it's just that they excel at what they do, or they get the opportunity and they didn't take it for granted, right? And one of the person I really learn a lot from, and even a few days ago I look at his story and I saw him in the gym, and I remember one of his posts he's making. He said to someone like, "Don't be fooled." He was showing his legs and how strong his legs are. That's David Warner, right? Just the level of how these guys manage to be dominant for so long. It's how disciplined they are. Well, David is such a wonderful person. Like, he would make sure, like, he would text in the group chat to say everyone need to be at the bar after the game. If we win, lose, or draw, we need to be at the bar. Not because you need to drink. If you don't want to drink, you don't drink, but just to bond with your teammates and chat and laugh and to get to know your teammates, right? But at the same time, if he's at the bar until 11 o'clock in the night, he's texting in the group chat, "I'm doing a 5K run tomorrow. Who want to run with me?" So these are the things you see that these guys, they're not just all about parties. People see these things and think that, oh, they're being praised too much. It's not a matter of that. They have worked very hard. And I think this is one thing I would like for the general public to understand, that these people are human beings and they're living their life. But for them to be relevant for so long, they must have been doing a lot of hard work in the background. Look at their bodies. Like, if you think that they drink too much or they have too much at their disposal, how are they not big and, like, out of shape? Most of these guys are still fit for 15, 20 years.
Yeah, that's incredible. And in terms of like in that competition, you scored that 48 of 26 balls. What specific strategies did you implement? Did you just try to keep it as simple as possible, see ball, hit ball, as you already mentioned, or and the lead up to that first game, was there any specific batting strategies that you were trying to implement in order to ensure that you're able to make that impact in the game?
I think to be present, yesterday we were at training, so yesterday is yesterday. So today we're at a game. I need to be present. I must believe that I practiced hard enough yesterday and I'm ready for the game today. And and when I'm in the game today, it's not a matter of, the team doesn't expect me to come and score 100. The team expect me to come and do my best. And how do I do my best? Is by staying present and watching the ball and reacting to the ball, right? Being aware of the situation. So yeah, that's what I take away from everything that these guys have. The experience being around these guys.
So shifting back to the Desert Cup T20 series where you made your international debut, in that game you did score 51 off 28 balls. That helped Canada win that game. So how did you feel after the game, where putting all that effort, winning the game for helping Canada win that game? What was your emotions in the lead up? Because you ended up being player of the tournament, that debut, tournament as well, which is must have been a huge feeling for yourself. But did that first game give you that confidence to be like, okay, I can continue this for a long, long time?
It did give me that confidence, and on my social media I posted a story when I was in Oman. I posted recently, but this picture was and video was taken from I was in Oman, where it's just like looking at the sunrise over the buildings, and I was on top of a building. That was taken, I think, when I scored 100, and I just couldn't sleep. So I scored a 50, and I literally couldn't sleep. The next game, I think I scored 80 something. I couldn't sleep again. The adrenaline, like, the games would have finished at 11:30 at night. But when we get back to the hotel at 1 o'clock, I just couldn't sleep, and I didn't want to stay in the room and talk to family members or friends back home. So went on the rooftop and I was there for like until 5, 6 o'clock in the morning. When I'm so exhausted, I just had to go back and sleep. So what can I say? It was an experience that I don't think I'll ever forget. But the adrenaline in you, like it just keep but then quickly you find out that this that you have shown the world, now the entire country is expecting you to do this day in, day out. And that's where the difficulties came in for me. Mentally, I had to prepare myself to, like, this is a responsibility now. It's not only about me wanting to be an international cricketer. It's about representing 40 odd million people.
So you also mentioned the 109 not out of 69 balls versus Oman. That was a crazy game scorecard because Canada had won by 1 run. So I'm really curious, firstly, obviously, focusing on your score in particular. It's like a mammoth score, especially in your debut series. Um, did you so in that second game, were you changing anything from the first game, for example? Were you just kind of continuing that momentum you just mentioned about your adrenaline? Was there any big shifts along the way, or are you just trying to keep it simple, trying to hit the ball hard, see ball, hit ball, and kind of work off the adrenaline you've already had from the previous game?
I think it was that, but I also think I have to give credit. I've spoken about this several times about the coach. I remember after scoring the 80, I think 89, 80 something, second game, the coach, about 10 o'clock in the night, I got a message from the coach to ask if I'm up. And I'm like, yes. And he's like, if you have 5 minutes, I would like to speak to you. So I went to his room and we had a chat for about 10 minutes. We were chatting and he was like, and this is how I know that, you need people to reassure you that you have to start again, but you have the ability, and it's about the performance mindset and staying in that present moment, right? Don't get too far ahead, because he was very blatant and very, very open to me to say that you scored a 50, you scored a 80, but you have to come and do it again tomorrow. And he's like, no pressure on you, but the only way you can do it again tomorrow is to practice the good habits. Come tomorrow, don't get lackadaisical, don't think that you have made it. This is another opportunity for you to do something big again. So as I said, that's when I quickly realized that it's not about me wanting to be an international cricketer. No, it's about this is something I've shown the nation that I can do, and they expect me to do it every time. It's not possible for me to do it every time, but they expect me to do it every time. And I think something in me knew that I should have scored 100 the game before, but the form of cricket that we wanted to play. If you notice, when I got out in that game, saw the captain walk to the crease, and we had like 4 or 5 overs to go, and he said to me that the message from the dugout was we should play every over as if it was the last over of the innings. So that selflessness, you need to have that selflessness. So it's not about me trying to score 100. It's about me doing what is right in the moment for the team, and that will bring you success. And luckily for me, the third game I got that 100.
That's amazing. Yeah. So sometimes I've found personally where if you're not too focused on your own accomplishments and rather fixate on the team's goals and needs, then the sort of personal success comes along the way. And that sort of, in a weird way, puts pressure off yourself. So you're not thinking about me and my stats and everyone has their own averages and strike rates, but you sort of fixate on, okay, look, the team needs this, this, this. Let me try to put my best foot forward. So would you say you have a similar sentiment in that sense?
100%, 100%. And I recently scored 100 here locally, and it was like from about 70 something ball, and I scored another 70, and then it was like, so I turned to someone and I said, I can do that. I can do the same thing everybody do. I can come to the crease. I can get a start every time. Like, how many times, if you look at my career, how many times have it been someone give me a good ball, I got nicked off or got bowled or got. Most of the time is me going at the bowling very early and I give my wicket away technically, right? But I see it as this is the way the team want me to play. The team believe this is how I will impact the team the best way. I've gotten out several times on 40s, in the 40s for Canada. I've gotten out 60s, 70s several times for Canada. So if I was thinking about my personal stats, I'm pretty sure it could have been better. However, this is the way the team want me to play. So I I take that opportunity and challenge.
So in that game as well, the one that you scored 109 in, and you'd won Canada one by one run. What was the feeling like? When there was a few overs to go. In the last over, I'm sure there would have been a lot of nerves, a lot of pressure. So walk us through that period and how you dealt with the pressure and guided Canada to the victory.
So so we batted first in that game, and I think my three previous performance, well, the two from the games before and the game that I scored that 100, I think I would say it's not only the runs that I scored that allow us to win. I think is because of how the confidence my teammates had in me is the reason why we won that game. And the reason why I would say that is I remember in the last over, a few balls were bowled and they were planning, they made a change. So when they made the change, it was a right change in terms of the field placement and everything. But unfortunately, like a ball, the guy play a shot, and because third man was in, it went over his head and went for four. So they're like, what do we do now? The last ball. And they wanted to bring the mid on and mid off in. But the decision that they made was the right one. And they congregated like some of the senior players because that was my first tour. So when they congregated, I was still standing at short fine leg. And when they made the decision and they were about to make the change, I think Saad, the captain at the time, looked to me. Like that was the only time he looked at me. And I went like this and I said, like, don't change. Like I just look at him and I tell him not to change. And the fact that I told him not to change was the reason why he did not change the field. And fortunately for us, the ball went to exactly where they were planning to move the fielder from. And I think with Matthew Spools was a fielder and we managed to get a run out. So I say that because of what I had done for the team for the last two, 3 innings, he had the confidence in me that the call that I would make would be the right call. So even though I wasn't a senior player at the time, but I showed them that I have some cricketing ability and I know how to read the game. So it was a very nervy game. I've never made 100 and lost a game in club cricket or at any level. However, I was very fearful that I wouldn't be man of the match for that game because Nadeem, I think his name was, he's a bowler and he scored, I think, 50, 60 runs in that game. Was a very good innings. I knew if Oman had win that game, he would have gotten man of the match. And I was thinking to myself, how can I score 100 and not get man of the match? But and at that time I was thinking selfishly, but I think it's just it's just to think that way at that point, right?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
crazy. And I'm just very curious. What made you? So, Was it just a situation where you trusted your cricketing brain, where it's like to not move the fielders, or was it a very instinctual thing where you just felt like it was the gut feel kind of decision that you felt that they shouldn't move the fielders?
I think it's a gut feel also when as cricketers we know how it is. Like you set a particular field, but then when you're trying to finish a over or at the back end of a over, you're trying to close out the over. So you set another field to close the over out, right? And it's just unfortunate that the ball took the edge and it could have gone to third man, short third man, but it went in the gap. It went over him. It's unlucky. It's one of them things, like if the luck is in their way, you can't chase the luck. You have to do what is right. And then if the luck doesn't go your way, you can say, at least the intentions were right. So I think it was a bit of gut feel mixed with cricket sense, you would want to say. It's unfortunate if it doesn't go your way, but most of the time it's the right way, or you have more percentage of winning that way.
Yeah, I can definitely imagine. And for yourself, from a personal standpoint, that would have been a very important series that you played, especially in your debut, as you mentioned, and getting player of the tournament must have been a huge boost to your confidence. And not too long after, you also made your ODI debut in the Cricket World Cup qualifier.
Yes.
Um, and what was your preparation in the lead up to the qualifiers? Was it similar to how you prepared for this T20 series, or was the approach a lot different? Walk us through that little period there.
Well, we went to Malaysia right after, and I think I scored a 50 in that, but I think a lot of people were expecting a lot more from me in that tournament. And coming back to Canada, the coach, we had a chat, and he just basically tell me that it's not a matter of disappointment; it's a learning curve. So I went back and we work on areas that teams would have been targeting me now, and for me to find a way how to curtail those as we talked about earlier. If you know how people are attacking you, then you can find ways how to defend that, right? So in the qualifier, I think the qualifiers you're talking about to get ODI status are just the champion.
I
Is this
think
in or
um,
in one?
there was one where, for example, in your second game, you played USA and
Okay,
he had
that's in.
he had
Yeah.
scored 47 runs. Yeah, so that was, I think, was the qualified playoff.
Yeah, for the ODI status. Yes, that was, and I think I scored five in the opening game against Jersey, 4 or 5, and I got a lot of messages also from back home in Canada, and people are telling me, you need to make some runs and this and that, and just a lot of external pressure. And again, I'll go back to the coach where he imploring us not to use our phone a lot, not to take pressure because this is a big event for us. This is us trying to do something great for the country. We haven't had ODI status in 10 years. And, he's just telling us that this is not just another series, this is a massive series. So I think, and against US, we started and we were 9 runs, 3 wickets down after 10 overs, I believe. It was disastrous start for us. And I think myself and Nicholas Curtin managed to put a partnership together and got us. And Harsh came in and performed well after. And so yes, I have spoken about this innings. I think it's probably up there with the most important innings I've played for Canada, not for myself, but for Canada. And I remember an umpire in I don't remember his name, but he's a Namibian umpire. I was batting on about 15, 20, and the team was under a lot of pressure. And he turned to me and he said, "Young man, I've umpired a lot of international games, but you're the coolest person I've ever seen bat under so much pressure." Because at that time, I just knew that my role was to stay at the crease. As long as I'm at the crease, the dressing room will feel like we're going to get a competitive score, and the opposition will know that Canada is not out the game as yet. So at that moment for me, it wasn't about scoring runs. It was about making sure I stay on the crease because that will send a sense of belief to my dressing room and a sense of, I would say, anxiety in the oppositions.
Oh, that's very insightful. So at that time, I'm looking at the scorecard here. Canada were 3 for 9, which is actually pretty insane. 3 for 9,
Yes.
and you're still batting, and that's what you
I think
mentioned.
I was on 5 at the time.
Yeah. So like, what was? I'd like to get more insights. Like, what was going through your head? Like, are you feeling the pressure? Like, was your mind really focused at that time, or were you struggling to focus because of the pressure? Like, how did you battle that nerves and pressure?
I think that actually helped me to focus a bit more, right? That actually helped me to focus a bit more, and it was a lot of pressure. I probably couldn't actually think about anything else but the pressure that was, I'm going through at that point. But I think that helped me to focus a bit more and helped me to go in a, as I would say, a performance mindset of just seeing the ball and reacting to the ball, not planning anything, not thinking about hitting the guy here or there. If it's short, I play a pull shot or I duck. It's just a matter of, at this point I really find a way to go in autopilot basically. So just see the ball and react to the ball. Whatever the outcome is, the outcome will be. So not think about scoring 300, not think about scoring 50, not think about getting any total. Just think about the battle that you're in now. Just focus on the ball and react to the ball.
So in that mindset, do you also put away the big shot, or are you just like you mentioned that you're just focused on reacting? Where if it is a half volley, for example, you're willing to go at it, even though to many players it might sound risky because you're 3 for 9 essentially.
Well, for me, again, if I'm reacting to the ball and it's a volley, I'm pretty sure I'm going to hit it probably for 6. So it's not me thinking about putting away a big. Probably the only shot I thought about putting away is Ali Khan was bowling a lot of bounce at me, and I remember that clearly. And I remember he bowled one bouncer and I duck, and he walked down to me and he said to me, "What you gonna hit that?" And I just looked at him and I shook my head. I didn't reply to him or anything. And then the next ball, he tried to bowl a Yorker to me and I flick him for four. So, it's just one of them things. So, like, I knew what he was trying to do, get me to come at him, but I'm not coming at you. You have to bowl to me. Once I'm here, you need to bowl to me. So I decide what I do with whatever you bowl to me if I'm here. So I think that's the mindset I was in.
And what's crazy is because that obviously your innings of 47 or 52 balls allowed Canada to get to a salvageable score of 192 from 349, which is very impressive. And I always felt like in cricket, it's not about necessarily the hundreds or the 150s and those big scores. It's about scoring under pressure. That means a lot more, has a lot more currency in my eyes, honestly, as opposed to another score that kind of happens when you're not under pressure. And essentially, that came down to be a close game, and Canada won by 26 runs. So, what was the strategy, I guess, during the break, innings break, and then when Canada were bowling? Did you have that self belief in order to make sure that you'd win the game? What sort of strategies and team plans were in place, especially towards the end of the innings, where you had to, as bowlers, had to keep a cool, calm, collected mind in order to win the game?
I can tell you, like, once we got to that total of close to 200, we knew that we had enough runs on the board to how would I say, have a chance now to win this game. And I think they have some key players in Milan, not Milan, in the captain, and like Stephen Taylor and Aaron Jones. Like, these are their three main batters, right? Monang Patel, Aaron Jones, and Stephen Taylor were the three main. So we knew we were trying to target them, and once we get them out, we could pressure the rest, because every team is like that in associate. You know the main players that you try to get rid of, and I think I I remember dropping a catch in slip of, I think it was Milan, and I was so devastated because, like, this was one of the big players, right? Like, this was one of the players we wanted to get. It wasn't an easy chance, but I should have taken the catch. And I remember Shrimanta saying to me, "AJ, get up!" Like, that's what he basically, because I was like, my head was down, and he's like, basically telling me to get up, like, we're still in the game. And that's what renew my hope of, like, this is not about me personally, like, everyone will drop a catch. It's about cheering on the team still, fighting till the end. And I think once we managed to get a few more wickets, then it was, I wouldn't say pedestrian, but like, we just, it was a very close game, as you say, but I think we were in control of the game in terms of, we got a few early wickets, then we managed to pressure them by the run rate, and we know that once we kept pushing up the run rate, then they would have given us chance.
Yeah, definitely. And after the game, because if you look back maybe 6 months prior or 3 months prior, you're scoring. You're playing T20s and playing with a certain mindset, whereas in this game it's a lot more different. So, what sort of learnings did you take after that game that helped you build your confidence for towards, I guess, for your career in general?
You mean that specific game or the overall?
Kind of the overall picture, because I guess in the T20 series, you're probably in that mindset to hit big and play those shots, and then in that game was more pressure where you're playing in the qualifier, and your team was in trouble for 3 for 9. So I assume that kind of situation or scenario is a lot different from when you sort of debuted. So what sort of learnings did you take along that journey at that point in time?
Well, it has shown me that I do have the ability to bat, and I'm not just a slugger. So so it makes me want to try and match my T20 performance in terms of my 50 over. It hasn't gone that way for me personally. Like, if you look at both my career, and if you look at both 50 over and T20, I've averaged a way higher in T20 cricket, because I personally think that I'm thinking too much about 50 over cricket. I'm thinking about batting time rather than seeing the ball and reacting to the ball. So I personally feel like I still have a lot of growth to do in that section of the game. I'm not sure if I'm now presently out of the 50 over squad. I'm not sure if I'll get a chance to play 50 over cricket again for Canada. If I do, I'm gonna be taking it with both arms and grabbing the opportunity with both arms. And I just think that even when I look at myself and what the team want from me, I think at this point they want maturity. So if I do get the chance to play 50 over cricket again, I need to show some level of maturity in terms of taking responsibility and more responsibility and batting deeper. I was talking to a very good friend today about that, and he said to me that I just haven't found my tempo in 50 over cricket. So it's not my ability, it's not my technique, it's not anything to do with that. It's just about, I think it's a mental thing for me in terms of how do I want to play or how do I want to structure my innings. So I think it's a mental thing for me more than anything else.
Yeah, I can imagine, like, especially in this day and age when you have so many different T20 competitions, it's not probably as ODIs, for example, the 50 over format isn't played as readily as opposed to the shorter formats. So finding that fit, like obviously, years ago when ODI format was the format to play, people obviously would have found the tempo. Whereas now it's like you transition from T20 to ODI cricket, and even Test or 4 day cricket or whatever level everyone plays. It's like it's hard to just kind of just adjust in a seamless transition, right? It's about figuring out the style that you want to play and all that kind of stuff. So I guess that's a journey for all cricketers to kind of figure out, especially in this day where everyone's playing T20 cricket, and that's the sort of way big hitting is seen as a thing. But obviously, in ODIs you can't just be smashing balls for 50 overs, right? Well, I mean, depends or what kind of team it is, but
Yeah.
yes, I think that journey is different for everyone essentially.
But but if I'm honest with you, like even in my T20 or 50 over career, like my role in the team was always to be the enforcer, and I always relished that opportunity. So I didn't really mind averaging a bit lower in 50 over cricket and doing a good job for the team. I was averaging high 20s, early 30s in 50 over cricket, which is still good enough with a strike rate of well over 100. So that's what the role the team wanted me to. If I wanted to play selfish, of course, I could have averaged more. But, it's something that I look back on and I think to myself, even playing aggressively, I should have been able to average a bit higher.
I mean, yeah, like it's like you have that hunger to keep improving, keep performing, and figure out different things. And I think that's a lesson for all cricketers to keep on trying to figure out and think through their game. It's not necessarily all about kind of figuring out whilst you're there. It's about kind of planning accordingly before you go out to bat, essentially. So
Yeah.
I know in that period we talked about like the game against USA and the qualifiers. Even after that, you played Nepal and you did really well as well. But I might jump to around the time you played the T20 World Cup, which I'm sure would have been a really crazy time, a very eventful time for yourself. So that was in June 2024. So what was your reaction when you found out you're in the squad for the World Cup, and what sort of preparations did you do in the lead up to the T20 World Cup in USA?
So I think that once we qualified, I know I would have been in the once I didn't get injured or anything. You have a core set of players who is gonna be. It's not a matter of selection; it's a matter of if you're fit or not. And I think, fortunately for me, I was one of them. So the preparation was about batting against 90 miles an hour on the bowling machine. It's about playing reverse sweeps. It's about standing and hitting the ball in certain areas. Like where. So it was very serious and specific planning. Because of course this is not associate cricket anymore. This is internet. This is like you're playing against full member nations. So so this is a World Cup. So people are gonna come planning and trying to put you under a lot of pressure. So, and I think the coach wanted us to one enjoy, but as I said before, like represented ourselves well and show the world that Canada is not just here to to play a World Cup. We're here to take our slice of the cake. And I personally think as a team we did that. I think a few individuals, I would say myself, Curtin and Navi, Even I would say Dylan, a few of the guys really stood up and performed well, you know. But the preparation was a lot of hard work, going to the gym for hour and a half in the morning, then having an hour break, going to indoor facility, working out hard. So, working out for 3 hours, batting, bouncing balls, pulling, sweeps. A lot of very, very hard work. I think for the first time, the Canadian players felt as though we are professional cricketers. We were contracted at it, well, still contracted. So, it was a lot of hard, hard work. It was so tiring sometimes the guys had to ask the coach, can we have a break tomorrow?
Wow, that's crazy, and it's really interesting. You're talking about bowling quick, facing quicker bowlers and that preparation. So I'm curious, just to ask, um, have you always, because I guess the struggle for even young cricketers is kind of facing quick bowling. It could be 145 kilometers an hour or 90 miles an hour, as you were talking about. Is that the sort of bowling you have faced or were accustomed to facing at a younger age, or is that something you had to sort of figure out as you get older? And what sort of approach did you have? Do you feel like, because I spoke to other cricketers, they talk about how to them maybe 130 kilometers an hour isn't too different from facing 145. It's just a mental thing. So it's about just reacting and not thinking too much. So I'm just curious about your experience, like facing, obviously higher paces. That's something that you've worked on as a young age, or even back when you were playing at Kingston Cricket Club, or is that something that you sort of worked on later towards your career?
It's funny you talk about Kingston Cricket Club because I remember one experience in the nets. A guy called Odin Smith, he played for West Indies, and a few guys would have seen him. He's short, stocky, and very quick. And I remember batting to him in the nets at Sabina Park, and he would have been bowling for 15, 20 minutes, so he's fully warmed, and I just walk in the nets, and he bowled me a bumper. And I was so mad, I don't think anyone would want to hear some of the exchange that we had. And these are the fast bowlers I had to bat to, like at a very young age, as we talk about, the Jerome Taylor, the Darren Powell, the Russell, when Russell was really firing. Uh, Jermaine Lawson, well, I didn't bat a lot to him, but I would be in St. Catherine Cricket Club at training and seeing these guys bowling to Danza Hyatt and all these guys and people running from him. So, like O'Shane Thomas, like all of these guys, I'm used to it. You would say that I'm used to batting to fast bowling than spin, and I think it show in my when you look at the stats, I strike a lot higher against fast bowling. I think very early I got hit once from a fast bowler, and I think to myself, if I'm gonna play the game, it's three things can happen. He can hit me, I can hit him, or he get me out. It's nothing else. So when you come to that realization, there's only three results. Then I guess you try your best to make sure the results are in your favor.
So, what advice would you give to someone that is trying to get accustomed to that higher pace? Like, is it just about watching the ball closely, having no fear? Because the common thing that we do see is that youngsters struggle with the short ball against quick bowling, so they struggle on the pull shot. I know that you like also against spinners, for example, you like playing towards cow corner and having that shot in the arsenal, but I guess in general, like with pace bowling, a lot of people struggle with facing that kind of level of especially with short balls, and everyone gets scared that's going to hit the body. So, what kind of advice do you have for cricketers in order to overcome that?
Well, one thing I'll say is that no matter how fast the ball is coming, your eyes will pick it and send a signal to your brain for you to react to that ball, no matter how fast it's coming. No matter how fast it's coming. So once you keep your eyes on the ball, you will react to it. And that reaction will protect you from the ball. You know, and if you think about it, if you're a cricketer and someone is bowling a bumper at you, that means it's coming above shoulder height, right? So once you keep your eyes on the ball, it's a matter of moving your head out the way. Because if it's above shoulder height, it only can hit your head. So once you keep your eyes on it, it's very easy to move your head out the way. So I would say just keep your eyes on the ball. Trust yourself. He's bowling, but you have the ability to get out the way. So once you trust yourself, the moment you're fearful, then your reaction will be less. Your reaction time will be slower. So even if you're afraid of getting hit, just tell yourself to keep your eyes on the ball, because once you keep your eyes on the ball, your hands will get in place to stop it with the bat if it's coming at your lower body or anywhere there. If it's coming above your shoulder, then you'll get out the way.
And who's the fastest bowler you faced
Who is the fastest bowler I've faced? Harris Ralph?
in the World Cup?
Yes, I would think so.
Ah, okay, amazing. And he was probably clocking around 145, 150 around that
Yes.
time, I assume.
Yes, somewhere about there. But the thing is, I find face bowling a bit easier to face because, again, statistics show that Harris Ralph probably 80% of his bowling is back pitch. So if he come full, he's going to surprise me, right? So I'm batting for that. I'm batting for the short pitch delivery, right? The Shaheen Shah, he's gonna be looking to get swing. So if he bowl me a bumper, it's gonna be the surprise delivery. So I'm looking for the one that he's pitching up. So these are the things that I'm pretty sure the greatest of the game, this is how they prepare themselves, you know. If there's a left arm spinner, he slide most of his deliveries. So, you know, so like you bat for that slider. If he goes the other way, then let him beat you with the one that he doesn't really back himself to bowl a lot. So these are the things that I think it's a clear mindset, right? Just to have a clear mind.
So that's really interesting. You talk about the Pakistani bowls. I might jump to that as well, especially in the T20 World Cup. In the third match you played, you scored 52 of 44 balls versus Pakistan, a very tricky wicket. And you mentioned, Shaheen Shah, Naseem Shah, Muhammad Amir, Harris Rauf. So those are the very pace bowling attack. And what you're talking about, it seems like you had plans for every bowler. So essentially, you mentioned Shaheen Shah. The short ball might seem as more of a surprise, so you can kind of adjust accordingly for that. So, what was your plans leading up to that game and that mindset that you had? Because in that game, you scored 52 runs and the team scored 106, and it ended up being pretty interesting game. Like it's not like the Pakistan team were scoring at a high strike rate; they were sort of going along, and I'd say definitely Canada were in the game in that sense. So I was just curious, like in the lead up to the game, what was your mindset? What was your approach? And what were your plans for these bowlers specifically?
So leading up to that game, like I didn't score much against Ireland. I scored okay. I started well against US. We lost that game. We beat Ireland. So I think we were coming off that high that we can actually beat Pakistan. And I knew that for me, I need to be in the right frame of mind. So I reached out to one of my very close friends. He's a guy called Felix. He's a Guyanese, but I met him in England. I play a lot of cricket with him in England, and he helped me to, And I reached out to him, and we were just chatting while I was on my way to the game. We were just texting back and forth, and I was just telling him, I sending him some videos and some clippings, and telling him to look at it, tell him what he's thinking, and I'm like, something is not right. And he replied to me, and he's like just a friend to a friend. He's like, everything is okay. Like, not in those kind words, but he's just basically telling me to get out my head. And he's like, stop batting for the short ball. He's basically telling me stop hanging on the back foot. He's like, you're a front foot player. Stop worrying about the short ball. So I just push my foot down the wicket and react to what I see. And if you notice, more of my scoring shots were in front of square. Most of my scoring shots because I'm a front foot player. So it's like he just reinstilling me that don't matter what they're doing, don't worry about what the opposition is doing. What is your strength? Stick to your strength. And I think when I got to 50, uh, Sean Pollock mentioned that I've been very selective with the shots that I play because I was camping on my front foot, waiting to play off the front foot. So when they were back of a length, I was very happy to look one or nudge it for one or, like not to play a big pull shot or a cut shot, just to get bat and ball to get a single. And when they come in my arc, I can power the ball down the ground. And I think it worked very well for me.
Oh, that's amazing. So we basically adjusted to the situation and had that fearless mindset where you're going to back your strengths and then
Yes.
play in that way, especially against such high class bowlers. How did you feel like when you were facing these bowlers, or like Shaheen Shah would have been opening the bowling and experiencing him? I'm sure that would have been the first time maybe that you're versing him as well. So, what specific plans did you have, Tim? Were you like nervous at that time, and if so, how did you adjust accordingly?
I was very nervous. I was very nervous. But again, as I said, like I knew he was gonna come and look swing. So I was fortunate to for the ball not to be a full Yorker, right? It was like just shy of a Yorker and I managed to get bat on it, got four. Then the very next ball he tried it again. I hit him straight for four. So I think because I he went for eight in his first two deliveries, he pulled his length back. So I got him to change his plan very early based off the fact that my plan worked. So I think it was a matter of me sticking to my plan. However, it was just fortunate for me, right, that he didn't nail the Yorker, and he attempted it, but he didn't nail it, and it just started flowing. And once you get those early boundaries, it's like you're more relaxed. So no, you're not chasing the game; they're coming at you. And Mohamed Amir, I think, honestly speaking, I think he is the most skillful of all in terms of in swing, out swing, slow ball, all of these things. So I my game plan was to bat as least as possible to him, and I managed to do that.
And is that something that you had to figure out as the game progressed and you were facing Mohamed Amir, or is that something that you had already pre-planned?
I knew I didn't want to bat him a lot. I knew I didn't want to bat a lot of him.
Yeah. And how was the experience with Naseem Shah and Harris Ralph, and what was your plans to them?
Nassim was a very difficult to face. He was very difficult to face because he's very skiddy. He's very skiddy, and the area that he bowl, it's like with slip gully, like it's very difficult. He's just on top of our stump, right? So he's very quick. So he's very difficult to face. But I think fortunately for me, he has given me a few good deliveries, and I managed to not get the edge onto them. And again, at that point, I could have actually planned the way I go about batting. From him also, I score him a lot. I set myself. He got me out in the end. However, I think I managed to handle him well enough to score off the others.
And in terms of, I know towards the end of the game, end up becoming a close game. So, during the innings break, what was the strategy from your team in terms of how you're going to go about playing the game?
Well, to be honest, Bob, and I think we thought that we were like about 25 runs short. To be honest, it would have been very difficult for them if we had gotten 20, 25 more runs, especially on a wicket like that. Their two main batters were Baba and Rizwan, and they got settled, and then it become very easy for them when the spinners start bowling, right? So I don't think we went out there thinking we lost the game. However, we knew that it would be very difficult for us to bowl them out in terms of the we got the highest score on that wicket against Ireland, and we were pushing to try and get that score again, similar score, but then it just didn't happen. So I think we knew at that point halfway that unless we had a really good bowling spell from our bowling attack, then it wouldn't, we score only 106, it's less than a run a ball for them. So they didn't really need to take any chance.
And before I ask, I guess whilst the bowling innings was panning out, you hit a six of Harris Ralph over deep cover. So what was that experience like? Talk us through that ball in particular and how you reacted.
It was a bit surprising for me that I actually hit that ball for six, but I think I planned that shot. They had a deep point, so I knew he was going to come. As I said, the international, the better teams, their strategies are really televised, right? So it's how you go about it. So I knew if I hit the ball there, I had to hit it in front or all the way for six. So that was in my head that I need to hit the ball at a certain, I need to make contact like out in front of me for the ball to go in front. So that was my aim. And fortunately for me, again, he bowled exactly where I expected him to bowl. And the thing that really stand out the most to me is when Barbara Azam signal six. I really look at those highlights and I think to myself, this is no regular player signaling six. This is Barbara Azam. And then throughout that innings, throughout that innings, like when I was on 20, I think very early they saw that they would have done their research and know who is good from who is not, or who is a good player in the team, right? And for me to be on 20 yard, and every time they walk up past me, they're looking at me not like, who is this guy? They're looking at me with respect. And I think Rizwan, the Barber Azam, the Shine Shah, Harris Ralph, these guys are coming up to you making funny gestures to you as if they're enjoying the competition. They respect you. You see that it's a level of respect they have for you as an individual. And for me, that's the most pleasing part of even playing that shot, to see Barbara Azam signal in the six.
That's crazy. So I'm sure that that would have been even just what you mentioned, the interaction with the Pakistani players, like that would have given you a sort of more of a self belief and confidence in your own game that they do respect you and are planning accordingly to try to get you out as soon as possible.
Yes.
Amazing. So like there was also a time where Shaheen Shah was bowling to you and you hit a six. I mean the commentary says miscue high in the air, and then Shaheen Shah was like bemused as he bowled a slower ball. So walk us through that particular ball.
It's very funny when I heard NASA said that it's a slow ball. It was 85 miles an hour. So you don't really find that in associate cricket to be slow ball, right? But it was not mistimed, to be honest. I wanted to to what should I say? Correct the commentary. What's her name? Isha. I think Isha. But yeah, it was a slow ball, and as she said, I was very committed to the shot. And again, as I said like earlier, I was committed to playing on the front foot that day because that's my style of play. So, my coach Puba, he always said to me that my ability is to hit good length balls for six and fours, to hit boundaries from good balls. And that's what put bowlers under pressure and take the pressure off the rest of the team. So I'm just happy. I'm just pleased that I was able to do it, especially against a bowling attack like Pakistan. Like I've done so much things in my career, but I think that's the highlight of my career. I think a lot of people respect me that I managed to score a 50 against possibly the best or one of the best bowling attack in the world. And even nowadays I go to the cricket ground, people coming up to me, thank you very much for what you did against Pakistan. You made us proud, and it still keep playing, and it's like sometimes I really don't understand what I have accomplished when I play against these teams or perform like this against these teams, right? But it's a very humbling feeling.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, that's definitely like, being in a World Cup and playing against such a quality team and putting up such a performance like that would, like for any cricketer, that sort of sticks in their mind, especially any Pakistani fan. I'm sure they look at you like in admiration in that sense, like a lot of respect, not just from the players themselves, but even just fans watching the game. And I know towards, especially when you face Imad Wasim, you'd hit two sixes off him. So one over long on, and also towards the ground as well, towards long off. So were you looking to target Imad Wasim as well in that kind of period there, in towards the 10th over onwards?
I was looking to push the score on for the team because at this time I think that I was set and I needed to think about the team, right? And I think I was striking it like just about 95. What it wasn't an easy wicket, but I knew that this was my opportunity to try and get some runs for the team. And I knew he liked to bowl a lot of sliders, and I think to myself, whenever I pick the slider, I'm gonna hit it all the way. So I wanted him to stay away from my legs. As soon as he come close again, as I said, that was my opportunity to pounce and hit the ball straight. So again, it's just not really targeting him per se, but it's just a matter of sticking to my game plan. And whenever he's back pitch, I can even block the ball. I can even look a single. It's just a matter of sticking to the plan that I have and trying to score some runs.
What's really interesting. So, what tactics or what sort of approach do you have in order to read the slider? Are you trying to like watch it just closely out of his hand, or are you just naturally trying to pick it up in regards to the field? How do you go about trying to read the slider?
I think out of his hands and the rotation of the ball, right? So once you can see where the seam is rotating, you have an idea of where it's going, right? So
Do you also judge the shot you're going to play, even though you know it's going to be a slider, based on the length, or are you just trying to back yourself to hit the slider regardless of where it's pitched when it's out of the bowler's hand?
it's more so about the fielding position, because if the fielders are in certain position, and these are some of the things that the coach actually work with us, like try to hit the ball in the gaps. So even if you don't time the ball well enough, it's not falling straight in the fielder's hand. They have to probably take a good catch or give you that 50% chance of the ball hitting the ground before a fielder get to the drop zone. So I think for me again, if it's full enough, I back myself to clear most fields. So once it was full enough, I was fully committed to the shot. And a lot of people, it might not be a big swing, but once I middle the ball, I do believe it's gonna clear the rope. But yeah, it's just a matter of trying. If I'm going for a six, might as well I try to hit it out the park. I don't need to be looking at the feelers. If I'm hitting a four, then I need to think about the feelers.
I know I've spoken about your approach to pace bowling, but I think it's important to ask you about the approach to spin bowling because I've obviously watched a lot of footage and, naturally, even for myself, I'm just over 6 foot because we have an advantage with longer arms, longer levers. That's sort of advantageous with against spin bowling, right? So like you can, as you mentioned, you can clear the ground and you back yourself because you have that natural power, number one, but also the big levers that allow you to get more, momentum onto the ball. But how would you say your approach is to facing spin in general? Like, are you trying to read the length early out of the bowler's hand and reacting accordingly, or are you trying to, depending on if it's an off spin or a left arm orthodox bowler, are you trying to make different plans for each bowler? So I'm just curious as to your approach when it comes to facing these kind of spin bowlers.
So recently, so previously, I was just about hitting the cricket ball as far as I can. But I think in the last 8 to 6 months, I've made a conscious effort to try and play spin a lot better. In terms of as you say, reading the length and not getting stuck. So not only looking boundaries, but looking to bat longer. And as I talk about, based off my where I am now in my career and what teams are looking for from me, they're looking for responsibility. So it can be, teams actually want that power from me, but they actually want me to stay at the crease to give them best possible chance of winning. So it's about picking up the length, looking to rotate the strike, hitting the balls in gaps and running twos. So, like when one, so these are the things. It's like lowering the bowler into your arc to basically clear the ground. So I think for me, it's a more conservative approach to the game to lower the bowlers to bowl to me, rather than trying to take a bowler for 20, take him for 10, take him for 8, let him keep bowling, and then the last over, the second to last over, you try to get him for 15 or 20. So it's about what the team is looking for from you rather than, so I'm looking to improve my overall picking off the length and the pace from the bowler's arm.
And who's the toughest spin bowler you've faced in your career?
Toughest spin bowler I've faced in my career. Uh, I would say Zishan Maksood.
That's amazing. Yeah, and plays for UAE from memory. Plays for
Oman.
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 Sorry, yes, Oman. And you're facing pretty regularly. And what are your sort of plans to him when you do face him?
To get our strike. I think he knows also, but I think he's also afraid of bowling to me also. But it's funny how it works, you know. It's just a respect you have for each other. You know this person's a good bowler, but he know I'm a good, decent batter. So it's like, it's cat and mouse game.
Yeah, yeah. Are you friends off the field as well?
When we meet, yes, but not like text or talking a lot on the phone. But when we meet, for sure.
Yeah, and shifting back to, I guess, the game against Pakistan. So when Canada was bowling, it's not like the Pakistani batsmen were really on top of you. They were just kind of getting along around a ball. So what was the emotions at the time? Did you have that self belief that yes, once we get a few wickets here, we can definitely win this game? Did you have that self belief at that time? Curious as to the plan and strategies during that time in that game.
I think we knew that, as I said, it was just less than a run a ball for them to get. So we knew that early wicket, and once we get it over 6 runs about like a run a ball, then it's a possibility for you to start building pressure, right? But I think, if I remember well, I think once we introduced the spinners, then I think Baba took about probably 12 out of 1 over by hitting one of our spinners for six. And I think that's where the pressure actually releases. And from then it was a matter of, it was less than a run a ball again, or like 4 runs, about 4 runs or over. So at this point, they were just cruising, right? It was for them. They just didn't want to get out. So they didn't really need a boundary. So at that point, I think that's when we as a team knew that it's not impossible, but it's basically over for us.
Yeah, and as a World Cup on a whole, I'm sure that's an opportunity for you to meet many different players from around the world and have conversations with them, or even maybe hang out with them if the opportunity arises. I'm just curious, during that World Cup, did you have the opportunity to meet any world class players from different teams that you've been looking up to or meaning to meet? And how was that experience overall?
So yes, as I said, the Pakistani players, Sterling from Ireland, I'm a big fan of him. I think he's amazing. You know, I asked him for a shirt. He's the only player in the World Cup I asked for a shirt. That's Paul Sterling from Ireland. So I'm a big fan of him. I like how he strike the cricket ball, and I met some of the Indian players. I was very pleased to meet Jadeja. I was also very pleased to meet Surya Kumar Yadav. I met Hardik Pandya, and I met the other guys, the Rohit, the Kohlis, and all of these guys. I think Rohit is a very, very humble person. I think Rishad Pant is I hope he take this in a very good way. I think he's a big kid. He's a very nice person also. He's a very joking, like he runs a lot of joke with the group. If you see them, like the India team was just next to us, and I think he's like the life of the India team. And so I think, again, like these are people who probably you'll get only one chance in your life to not only meet but to possibly play against. I'm really sorry that we didn't get the chance to play against the Indian team because the game was rained out. But I can tell you, even though we didn't play against them, that was the most attraction we as a team got on social media when we were about to play against the Indian team.
And did you get an opportunity to talk to them about cricket or anything in particular that might have helped your game as well?
No, I don't think no, we didn't. I didn't talk to any of them. But at that point, like as an international cricketer, less hectic schedule than these guys, and with not even half the pressure that they come under. Sometimes you really don't want to talk about these things, especially when you're talking to another cricketer, right? You just want to be a regular human being. I remember Russell, me and Russell, we were good friends. I remember going to his house when I visited Jamaica a few months ago, and we were just sitting there until about 1 a.m., 2 a.m. on his balcony, and we were just having a chat. And he's just basically saying that this is when he feel like a human. Like every time he's out, he has to be the Andre Russell, the Dre Russ that everybody know. So again, I tend to not pressure cricketers about cricketing stuff.
Yeah, I mean, they're always thinking and talking and playing cricket, so you don't want to obviously put that on them. So that definitely makes sense. I know you've been so very, very generous. I'm going to ask you a few quick questions before you wrap up. So, in terms of batting or of, preparation before you play, do you have any sort of mantra, or do you do any kind of visualization work, or anything of meditation, even, or anything in particular that you feel is a key ingredient to your batting?
I just don't like people touching my bat, especially the one I'm about to walk out with. I don't. Normally, I normally put on my left pad first. Normally, be listening to music. So these are the things I stay in a positive mind frame. Like just tell yourself that just watch the ball react. Like if you get too far ahead, think it's difficult. So it's just a matter of calming yourself. I wouldn't say meditation, but it's just some simple stuff.
And who would you say? I know you talked about Paul Sterling, but who's the best batsman you've seen? In person. It could be a teammate, it could be someone you played against. Like I know you obviously versus Pakistan, and we've had the opportunity to watch world class batsmen, and I'm sure in other situations as well. But or in the Canada Global T20 competition, you had the opportunity to obviously mix with a lot of different world class players. But who would you say is the best batsman you've seen up close, and you're just like, wow, like, amazed by their skills?
So it's funny you say that because I batted with David Warner. He didn't really score much. I didn't score much in that tournament either. But there's a guy called Bo Webster. When I saw him batted on the wicket, the GT20 wicket, and he's probably the nicest person I've ever met. Second up to Colin de Grandhomme, right? Like in terms of their how humble they are. And when I saw some shots that Bo Webster play, I think to myself, this guy is different. He's a serious talent. And then I started to do some more research about him. And then I saw that in Australia, he's probably one of the best local cricketers to have ever played. Or, like for the last 2 years, he's dominating Shield cricket. And then he got his opportunity to play for Australia. And I had no doubt he was going to do well. And then he did well. So it's like, I genuinely think that he's special. I think George Manzi is is extraordinary too. I think he's associate cricketer, but I think he's special. Like we know the Barbaras and we know the Kohli, we know all of these guys, but I genuinely do believe that George Manzi will be a great.
That's really interesting to talk about Bo Webster because I live in Australia, and he's definitely made a name for himself in Shield cricket, and now he's currently in the Australian squad and in the team as well. So that's really insightful that you also could see that he was built differently. So he's finally getting that opportunity to play higher levels, and also getting that recognition that you also described. So he was your teammate, you said.
Yes, yeah, we play together and it's not just the shots that he play, but it's the surface that he plays those shots on. And you're thinking to yourself that how is it that everybody else is struggling? The ball is kicking off, the ball is doing this, the ball, and he's just stroking it as if he's batting on a road.
Yeah, because that reminds me of the innings he played at SCG against India. Like, I think he made his debut. It wasn't an easy wicket, and then I think he scored a 50 on debut, if I recall, as well. So you can see what you're talking about, and I guess that playing out in international cricket as well. And maybe one or two last questions. I think you did mention that your favorite innings was, I think it was in that ODI game that you played initially. But what would you say has been your most favorite or cherished innings that you've played?
I personally think that. So I scored 120 something in Bermuda against Panama. Yeah, it's Panama, but it was the conditions that Canada were put up against. We had the rain, the weather around, and we had to break, and we were beaten very badly by Bermuda the first game, and we had, like we were net run rate, we were like -6 or something like that, and we had to win and win big. So for me to have made 100 against probably the only 100 in the tournament, but to make 100 from I think 60 something ball, 120 something, and I think I was like 18 from 24 balls, and I managed to score. So for me, I knew that that 100 helped to put us in the driver's seat going in the last game. We just needed to beat Bermuda and we'd have gone through. Winner take all that game. So I think that's probably my most favorite. That's what give us the World Cup berth, I believe.
And I know you mentioned how good Muhammad Ami was with his skills. Would you say he's the best bowler you face, or is there someone else that you feel is very tricky? Or Zishan Maksud? I don't know.
No, Zishan is very good. Like I would say, spinner. I would say the best spinner. When I think about spinners, I think he's the best one. But I think Mohamed Amir is probably one of the best fast bowlers I've faced. But also, there's a Bangladeshi fast bowler who played in the GT20. I think he's Azmat. I think he's pretty decent also.
Is this Omarzai,
No, from
Afghanistan?
Afghanistan.
Yeah, he's
Yes,
an all rounder, bowls around 140 kilometers an hour as
yes,
well. So yeah, it's very rated in international cricket as well. And
yeah. He
as the last question, what would you say is the best piece of advice you've received in your cricketing journey?
to enjoy it. Don't forget why you started playing cricket. We get caught up in the politics, in the oh, I must perform, I must do this. If I don't get this opportunity, people are gonna see me this way. But why did you start playing the cricket? To enjoy. Yes, a job, no, but you're more authentic, you're more successful when you enjoy whatever you do. So don't forget about enjoying the game.
Definitely, that's a great piece of advice, and obviously easier said than done at times, but definitely something to always be mindful of. And before I put the podcast on a close, was there anything you wanted to share as your last thoughts, or anything that you feel I might have missed out that's really important to mention? As you know, we've talked about your career and your childhood as well. Was there anything that you wanted to kind of share before we put the podcast on a close?
Well, I just want to say thanks for having me, and I think that you know it's 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 anyone's dream to play international cricket, or a young cricketer dream to play international cricket. And parents out there, a lot of parents, they stop their kids from playing or doing something that they're really passionate about. But at the end of the day, I do believe that the life that we have to live, we must be passionate about something. So we need to support people rather than take them away from things that they're genuinely passionate about.
Yeah, definitely, and I think that's a good lesson in life in general, where just finding something you're passionate about and just pushing through it. And the stories that we talked about today and the stories that you've mentioned are very inspirational for many people around the world to chase their dreams. And I feel like I appreciate your time and everything because we had the opportunity to really go deep into your experiences and obviously your struggles, especially during COVID in Canada, and overcoming that and seeing the fruits of that. I think that's very inspirational, and many people can take a lot of lessons and learnings from that. So much to unpack in that sense. But thank you so much for your time, Aaron, on the show. It was really a pleasure and honor to have you and talk about all these aspects about your cricket, your life, your career, your journey as well. And it's only going to continue going, and maybe in a few years' time, we'll keep monitoring how you go and maybe have you back on as well and talk more about cricket and your new experiences. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much for having me.
So I'll just put the podcast on a close. Thank you, listeners, for tuning in. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel, The Cerebral Cricketer. We're on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. So feel free to support us, share our content with your friends and family, and give us a 5-star rating on all our platforms like Spotify. You can listen to the podcast on iTunes, Apple Podcasts as well. So from our special guest, Aaron Johnson, we wish you all the best. This is Tanzim signing off. Take care, everyone.